Hey, everybody, welcome in. It is Wednesday, August 27th. This is section 1904. I'm Darren Smith. He's Jon Gennaro. We do have a guest today. It's a big guest in that this is literally one of the hardest working people that I've ever been colleagues with. Jon Schaeffer, who has about 10 different titles. Not only is he the co-host of the Jon and Jim show, co-host of the wrap-up show, San Diego State play-by-play voice, San Diego State football underway on Thursday, which is kind of the motivation for us. San Diego State football, San Diego State basketball. This guy does coaches shows. This guy's always on the move. He does a 4-hour radio show every day, another hour plus on the wrap-up show. He's got an Aztec wrap-up show. So somebody put out the bat signal on the Discord channel that they wanted a little bit of Schaeffer. So we got Schaeffer today for you, just about, 24 plus hours away from the Aztecs opener of 2025. Jon, I know we're not going to spend a ton of time with the Padres having a day game. People will probably consume this podcast either during, maybe even after the Padres play the finale against the Mariners. It was an uncharacteristic night for Jason Adam, but the Padres went with their bullpen. They got big hits from Cronenworth, a sacrifice bunt from Fermin in the 6th inning, and the Padres win 7-6. A much better game, I think, on Tuesday night than it was on Monday when you and I showed up yesterday, having very little interest in talking about the Padres at all.
Yes, and there was a moment. There was a moment where the Padres had a 5-0 lead, and then there was a moment where that lead was gone, that it felt like, they're losing control. The bullpen has been burned out. They're letting go of the rope. This is it. This is the thing where they stumble down so many games behind the Dodgers that they can't catch up to them, and we're only watching the wild card for the last 3 weeks of the season. There was a moment where I got really, really pessimistic. I said yesterday, I've been the optimist on the Padres, and I don't even know if that's true, but I'm going to keep saying it. And there was a moment last night where I was like, oh no, it's happening. And then you know what, Darren? The Grit Squad put their grit pants on and did big boy grit things to get that lead back and get that win. And I appreciated that. I think it was in Padres Daily this morning that Kevin Acee stayed up all night putting together undoubtedly and going crazy, that him and Mike Schilt were like, these games matter more now. Like it mattered more that we won that game than it would have a couple weeks ago and definitely a couple months ago. And it's not quite, this is a playoff game and we need this, but these games matter more now. And I just, I think that is what led to them pushing a little bit harder. They're in a slightly more difficult situation than the Mariners. And I'm not going to say like they just wanted it more, but it kind of felt like they just either wanted it more, needed it more, had a larger level of desperation than the Seattle Mariners did last night.
Well, when we start a podcast here, and it's a lot different, and I'm sure it was for everybody who talks about this, and you talk about the hitting heroes of the night being Cronenworth and Fermin, the number 8 and 9 hitter in the lineup. I bet you we can count on one hand the amount of times that we could say something like that. And it also speaks to everything that's been said and done and already referenced about the trade deadline and the back third of the lineup and et cetera. Like, we understand it, but it was the 8 and 9 hitter and a sacrifice, a squeeze bunt. I always remember Andy Green. Remember Andy Green? I liked Andy Green. I thought he got a bad rap around here. But Andy Green always said, a perfectly executed sacrifice bunt is unstoppable. It's an unstoppable play in Major League Baseball, and I think we saw a little bit of that last night. So Dylan Cease was not great, and we've had our moments with Dylan Cease, and it looked like after the All-Star break that he had straightened some things out. Now we've seen a couple of hiccups here. So, I sense the anxiety, like you said, like there's some pessimism out there. You said something right before we got rolling about, why is it that the Mariners look like they're having so much fun?
Yeah.
And I do wonder if there's just a tension, like not a tension of conflict, but like a tension where winning almost feels more like a relief for the Padres than it does joy because of everything that's been invested in this team. And people realize that this is not going to be the same team. And there are real stakes here. And you're a game back in the loss column from the Dodgers, 2 back if you want to include the tiebreaker. But as you said that, I started thinking, I just wonder if winning for them is less fun than it is a relief.
Yeah, one of those. And they probably love this saying because athletes love this saying, but they're probably a team of guys who hate losing more than they like winning. But Yeah, it just like it feels like the Padres vacillate back and forth and between like glum, like sad about how things are going, and just like, yeah, we did it. But like there's no fun at any point. There's just sadness we didn't do it or incredible relief we did do it. And like it's a long season with a lot of games. And I think the teams that usually have the most success are the ones that realize like the journey is the thing. Have fun with these guys. Enjoy this time in your life, and not the ones that are just completely focused on the outcome, the result. Did we do it? Did we not? Are we relieved or are we mad? I'm getting so frustrated, and I'm starting to think that it's my own perception, but I'm getting so frustrated that every single team the Padres play, maybe with the Dodgers as an exception, they're a lot less fun when Kike Hernandez isn't there. It just seems like all of these teams have a level of fun and silly to them that the Padres just lack for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting point because I sense the anxiety even amongst the fan base. I mean, scrolling through Twitter last night, it's like, what are we talking about? Like, oh my God, I can't. They're going to have to use Estrada, and then you might have to use Suarez. I'm like, wait, what? Like that guy leads the league in saves? No, yeah. Suarez is going to, oh no. Like the only person for the moment people seem to trust is Adrian Morejon. So I don't know. I mean, I just sense like there's a ton of investment in this product on the field this year in 2025, and any hiccup, and it sort of short circuits people into thinking that the whole thing is just a house of cards that's on the verge of collapse. So I don't know. It's just an interesting dynamic. Again, an observation, mostly through the lens of social media interaction, and a little bit every time we get a glimpse into the dugout. But I do want to say Jon Schaeffer was on late last night. We're recording a little bit earlier, even by our own standards, and I will raise my hand as the person responsible for us doing this because SDFC has changed around its training schedule due to the heat at Saquon. So I got to be on my way out there in a little bit. Jon Schaeffer was on television after I went to bed last night, and he does the wrap-up show on YouTube with Jim Russell. And those guys were on YouTube doing the wrap-up show talking about the Padres after I went to sleep last night. So we appreciate him getting up early. And Jon Schaeffer will talk to us about San Diego State and some other stuff right now.
I believe.
I believe.
I believe that.
I believe that.
I believe that we.
I believe that we will win.
I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win.
I believe that we will win.
All right, well, this was just a classic guest booking. When I was invited onto the Jon and Jim show, I said, hey, we're looking for somebody to talk a little San Diego State football. You know anybody that could fit that bill? And it's Jon Schaeffer. Again, I don't even know that I have all these titles right. San Diego Sports 760, Jon and Jim show, the wrap-up show, which was on after I fell asleep last night. San Diego State Aztec play-by-play, which we're going to talk about. Do I have this right? Are you guys now the 3-time winner of the UT Best of Awards for Best Sports Radio Show in San Diego? Do I have that right?
Whoa.
You somehow have it right, even though the show's been on the air for like 2 years. That's all you need to know about the award.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. What else am I missing here? You're doing a wrap-up show for San Diego State? Do I have that right? You do the coaches show every week? I mean,
Man.
you are the hardest working person in this industry. And I don't just say that because you're getting up early to chat with us. I've said this even when I was still working at iHeart.
I appreciate you saying it, Darren. I appreciate you both having me. I mean, I don't even know. It's just kind of always been who I've been, whether it was here or elsewhere. Like you work in minor league baseball, which is what I did previously, and it's like you kind of work. What's the saying? Like you either live to work or you work to live. I've always been the live to work kind of guy. I've always just been a kind of a worker. I like doing things that I'm passionate about, and that's just always who I've been.
Well, it is paying off as well, and continued success. How excited are you as somebody who has been talking very well, I might add, about Padres day in, day out for months, which you will continue to do? How nice is it, though? Nice to just have that change of pace with San Diego State football starting on Thursday.
I do like it. Man, I don't know how much more time I can talk about the Padres, and we will continue to talk about the Padres. But I'm just ready. I feel like year two has a chance to be a vast improvement over year one, and I do think there was a lot of excitement heading into year one, and ultimately there were a lot of challenges. But it just feels like they're kind of primed to take advantage in year 2 under Sean Lewis, and hopefully that begins on Thursday night. But so much of it is an unknown with college football, with all the movement, obviously, and just all the changes everywhere. But I'm optimistic. I think Aztec fans are kind of cautiously optimistic, and I'm ready to get this thing going. Like you and I have talked about this so much. I mean, I've always loved college athletics. They've changed a lot, but I love college athletics. I love college football, and I'm ready for Thursday night.
I don't know the answer to this, so if you don't mind me asking, because like Jon G and myself, you were born in a different part of the country.
Yep.
I know how much you love college sports, even though sometimes college sports can make it a little bit challenging. And I openly talk about how challenging I think some of these changes have made it for me. But I've always said this about Schaeffer. This guy loves San Diego State. He is unapologetically a San Diego State guy. So much so that people think that you went to school there. You must have gone to school there. When did that start for you? How did this happen? That it's not just a gig, right? You're not just doing it because it's more reps on the mic, right? You're not. I don't think you're using it as a stepping stone. When did this connection to San Diego State start for you?
It's funny. I don't know if I've ever told you this story, and John will probably appreciate it as well. Before I even got the job at iHeart, I was moving from the East to the West. My wife had a job opportunity, and I met with our former program director, Brian Long, in his office, and he was just telling me, hey, we're going to have San Diego State rights. This was 9 seasons ago. And this was a couple of months before I ultimately got the job. He's like, would you have an interest in doing pre, half, and post? I'm like, absolutely. I love college athletics. I'm going to be moving to the West. That's like a dream situation. He's like, well, okay. And then he just asked me well, you've called play-by-play. You've done all this baseball. I'm sure you want to be like a Major League Baseball broadcaster. He's like, what is your dream job? And I told him in that meeting, this is 2 months before I even was hired, I said, my dream job would be the voice of San Diego State. And he almost scoffed at it. No, seriously, I'm no, I'm serious. I mean, we're moving to San Diego. I'm in the middle of my career. This is where we want to be. If I could just snap my fingers and that was my job moving forward, that would be an absolute dream. And isn't it funny how life works? I mean, I didn't even have a job at that point. I get hired. I'm working behind the scenes. I work, obviously alongside Ted for all these years, and then I have the opportunity. But you are right. It's just I've been passionate about it. I got here. Rashad Penny ran for 2,000 yards. They started 6-0. They were 18th in the country. They lost back-to-back games at home to Boise and Fresno, but I think they went 10-2 that year. And they were just consistently good. And then on the basketball side, it's a complete, pinch yourself. How is this program this good nationally, kind of under the radar? When I was out east, I mean, you knew of them. You knew about Kawhi. You knew they'd had a run or two. But the success they've had in basketball, the success when I initially got here with football, I've just been a supporter. I've been a fan, and now I have the opportunity to kind of do it and call the games. And it's just, honestly, dude, it's been a complete, how did this happen? It's honestly, I feel so fortunate to have the opportunities to do it.
Yeah, good for you, man. Like I said, a good way to pick a fight with Schaeffer is say something about San Diego State.
It's true. I mean,
getting
you know how
hard
hard that is, because you have to have a level of you have to be able to do it fairly. I can't, if they lose 60-0 to Stony Brook, you can't be well, they really ran the football effective. I mean, you have to be honest about it, obviously. But, I think by and large with football and basketball, they've had success. Obviously last year with football 3-9, that's not the success they're looking for. But I think by and large, they've been successful. So it's honestly been somewhat easy from my seat by and large.
Well, and that's the question I have for you. Is you said that you're kind of optimistic about year 2 with Sean Lewis as the head coach. You said Aztecs fans are cautiously optimistic. What are they going to be? Pessimistic? Oh, it's going to be a terrible season? No, they're always going to start with at least cautious optimism. I am not an Aztecs fan, and therefore I am not cautiously optimistic, but I am hopeful. I am hopeful because I think if the Aztecs football team is really good, that is better for this show, for San Diego, for more distractions for me, things that I can watch and forget about what's happening in the world. Last season, Sean Lewis's first year as a head coach with San Diego State, they go 3-9. You said some things went wrong while you were talking about being optimistic about this season. So you were just saying, you can't go on the air after a 6-0 loss to Stony Brook and say everything's great. Give me the argument. Give me the reasoned take. What did you see last year that is making you optimistic for this year? How are they going to be better than they were last year?
First of all, I think the way you've asked the question is how a lot of people would ask the question that, aren't, diehard supporters of San Diego State. I think the skepticism is completely fair. I mean, they won 3 games a year ago. I would say this. that sometimes you have individual success when you don't have team success. And I think a lot of the individual pieces that were very successful last year, even though the team didn't perform the way they wanted to perform, are back, specifically on defense, where they're returning. I think they return as many starters as any team in the nation because, well, they return 11 starters. So nobody's returning 12 starters on defense. And in general, they return, I think, the 9th most starters in the country. And most of those teams that are returning more starters are Power 4 programs. But it would start for me with players like Trey White, who's just an outstanding defensive end that's going to play in the NFL, a cornerback like Chris Johnson, who's a terrific player who's going to play in the NFL. They have linebackers that are back. So to me, it kind of starts on defense, then it goes to the offensive line, because they were really exposed a year ago on their offensive line, whether it was the penalties, injuries, ineffectiveness, and they've bolstered. And they had like 9 or 10 scholarship players a year ago, basically when the season started because of circumstance. Now they have 15 or 16. So I just think they recognize some of the faults and they address them. And one of the keys was retaining. It's hard to retain in today's college athletics. San Diego State really did a good job from a football perspective of retaining. I honestly, I think I've asked Sean this point blank. I'm like, how did you do it? And some of these guys are San Diegans. They want to be here. They don't want to finish the way they finished last year. They kind of want to avenge what happened last year. So I just think retaining, adding a veteran quarterback, I think certainly should help. And I think they have the pieces. Also, their schedule is not as challenging as it was last year when they played essentially 3 Power 5 opponents. They're not doing that this year. So I think it lines up better, and now they have to prove it on the field.
Yeah, and I went back and I looked at some of the preseason pieces from last year, and I would throw myself into that mix. I don't think I was that far removed. When did I leave? I left in the beginning of the summer. But, I remember talking to Sean Lewis, right? Like, and there was this sincere optimism about the program. And maybe some of that was just because people were like, oh, okay, finally, it's a new era, right? It's a new offense. It's going to be competent. It's going to be 21st century, all that sort of stuff. I guess it's fair to point out that Sean Lewis went 2-10 in his first season at Kent State, 3-9 in his first season here at San Diego State. Do you look at it, I mean, when you're looking back at season number 1 here for Sean, do you look at it as more, is it a mulligan season? Or are there things like you said, like or is it a building block type season? Is it just like, all right, listen, maybe some things, were a little bit of a challenge here that was difficult to anticipate. Like following up on John's point there, how is it that you look back on the 3-9 season here? Is it just part of his process, or is it just, it's a mulligan, let's just focus on the number 2?
It's a great question as well. And it's like maybe we'll have more of the answer on that at the end of year 2. I mean, you bring up a really good point. It's like, I think he would look back in the second half. I just talked to him yesterday at length, right? And did the coaches show with him. I think they look back in the second half like, that's unacceptable. I mean, that's basically his words, and I feel as if he felt by the second half of the year, there wasn't much you could really, there was no short-term fix. It's more of kind of like a long-term play by the time you got to the second half of the year. I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, Darren, I want to say his second year at Kent State, they kind of caught fire and they went to the bowl game. Mm-hmm. They went 7-6. And that was a lot in the second half of the year. They didn't start great. They would play all these guarantee games. But they finally got it going in the second half of year 2, and that kind of is when it took off. You always hope to take something from something good or bad. I guess the key now is it already went bad. So it's like, what can you take from that puts you in a better situation to win in 2025? And I mean, I'll be honest with you, that it may be one of those things that you don't see it immediately. They play at Washington State. They play at Northern Illinois, who beat Notre Dame last year. They have Cal at home. Like your first 4 games, you're going to have to potentially upset someone or play well to get to 2-2 or 3-1 or something like that. I want to say there was a year under either Brady or Rocky where they started 1-3 and then they won out. I think the 2015 Mountain West Championship team started 1-3 and they caught
I think you're
fire.
right about that.
Yeah.
I remember that too because it was Rocky. I mean, it was Rocky because we were recording a weekly show with Rocky, and I always remember we were recording it one morning, and he's like, "Man, I always will remember what Rocky said." He goes, "Thank you for continuing to interview us because we're shit right now."
They might have lost.
Right before we got started, he's like, "A lot of people would have just stopped doing this. Thank you, because like we're really shitty now." But I appreciate that. And then like they turned it around, and like you said, they went on a run and they won all those games consecutively by the end of the year.
And it's different. And I don't have it in front of me. That might have been the year they lost to like South Alabama. They might have lost by like 30 points to South Alabama.
Oh, God, I remember.
I'm not sure if it was or not because I don't have it in front of me. But from that point on, I think they won 9 or 10 consecutive games. And not to compare 2015 to 2025, nobody has any idea how this is going to play out. But my point is, and Sean said it point blank in his media availability on Tuesday, like he didn't avoid the question. He's like, "Are you going to make a bowl game?" And he's like, "Yes, that's like the floor for what our expectations are in the building." So I think their expectation is to make a bowl game. Now, again, how do you navigate it? There's going to be adversity, highs and lows, injuries, but how do you navigate it? And that would be doing work from 3-9 to 6-6 or better. To me, is improvement.
All right, so I don't know a lot about Sean Lewis. You probably know a lot more based on last year, but also his previous stops and what he did as offensive coordinator in Colorado, et cetera, et cetera. I, as a UCLA Bruins football fan, spent years giving Chip Kelly the excuse of like, well, he hasn't gotten his players yet. He's trying to run his system with the other guys' players. I did look this up. San Diego State finished second in the rankings amongst Mountain West teams for their recruiting class this year. So you could do the same thing with Sean Lewis. He's trying to get his players. Once he has his players, he can run his system. So kind of two-part question. A, what kind of offense should we be looking for this year? Run heavy, pass heavy, option, etc. And B, what type of offense does Sean Lewis want to run? What type of guys does he need to run the offense that he ran at Kent State or I guess even Colorado?
What he wants to run is a really balanced offense. I think the misconception of Sean Lewis is he's a guy that stretches the field with the pass, and everything is like an air it out. That's the offense he wants to play. Because you look at 2023 Colorado, they opened against TCU. It was like this ridiculously high-rated game because of all the interest with Dion, and Shedeur was the quarterback, and TCU was in the national championship. And I want to say Shedeur Sanders maybe threw for 500 yards in the game. There's an article in The Athletic actually after the game that I think references Sean Lewis as having called the perfect game. Like if there's a perfect game for a coordinator, what he did against TCU was literally a perfect game call. But that's not actually who he's been as a play caller in his career. If you look at Kent State, I think they led the nation in total offense during the COVID season. He was equally balanced in yardage gained, run and pass. They love RPO. They love quarterbacks that can run the football. A year ago, they had a quarterback that couldn't. Danny O'Neal hurt his knee and was a true freshman. And I think the knee injury, even though he played and at times was successful, I think it limited the play calling ability of Sean Lewis, who, by the way, remains the play caller in 2025, even though they've named an offensive coordinator. He will continue to call plays. So I think it's a lot of run-heavy offenses, and you take advantage off the run of the passing game. But they want to go quick, obviously. They want to avoid the 2nd and 15 and 2nd and 20s or 1st and 15, 1st and 20s they had a year ago. But they want to be balanced. And I think a dual-threat quarterback is a big part of it. They bring in a Jaden Danigal, Bert Emanuel Jr., who is at Central Michigan, who's an absolutely terrific athlete. He'll start as the backup quarterback. But I think both of these quarterbacks have the size. Like Danigal's 6'5", 235. So he's huge. So I think you're going to try to take advantage of the quarterback run game, the RPO game in general, the speed. And I think just because it didn't fully work and it didn't work in 2024 doesn't mean it can't work in 2025. And they'll kind of try again with a more veteran quarterback. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the year they've had more success running the football than passing the football. And ultimately, I think that's who they kind of want to be, even though you think it can be a pass-heavy offense under Sean Lewis. So a long way of saying, I think they prefer to run it 55% of the time as opposed to throw it 55% of the time, truthfully.
Yeah, if I could follow up right there. I had another question that was essentially why did... from your perspective or from things that you've heard, why did Danigal win this quarterback competition over Bert Emanuel Jr.? Like they're both transfers who came in. They're both guys who seemed like they weren't getting a chance to start where they were, whether that be at Michigan or Central Michigan, and they came to get a chance to start. Is it because Danigal is the better athlete? Because based on, I guess, statistics, like passing statistics, Emanuel seems to be the better passer. So if you're going with Danigal, either you have unlocked something with his passing, or it's because you believe in him as a runner more than you do Emanuel, who's a little bit smaller, right?
Have I missed statistics on Danigal? I think he's only thrown 5 passes, right?
He's only thrown a handful of passes.
And he's completed 4 of them. He's an 80% passer with 1 touchdown, John. What are you talking about?
I guess that's true.
I think the book on Bert Emanuel Jr. and San Diego State played at Central Michigan last year. This was amazing. I don't know if I ever told Darren this. I'm on the concourse at Central Michigan, whatever that town is. It's this beautiful day in September. And I'm like waiting for like some food stand to open so I can eat some like vegetarian food or something. It's like a quesadilla. And I'm sitting there in my San Diego State quarter zip, and I'm just on the concourse 2 hours before the game. And this gentleman walks up to me, and he starts talking to me about San Diego State. And I go, "Are you Bert Emanuel?" And he's like, "Yeah, my son's Bert Emanuel Jr." I just kind of put it together. And Bert Emanuel spent 10 years in the NFL, was a great wide receiver. Jim had never heard of him, my co-host on Jon Jim, but Jim's an idiot. So I talked to Bert. He played at SC. He redshirted the year that SC played at San Diego State, way back in the day, right? Then he transferred to Rice. He became like an All-American quarterback, was ultimately an NFL receiver. And he told me the whole story on his son. And I was like enamored. He was recruited to go to like Texas out of college, every offer in the world, but as a receiver, because people doubted his quarterback and throwing abilities.
And because his dad's a receiver.
Yeah, so his dad was a really good receiver, so he was doubted as a quarterback, but Central Michigan gave him the quarterback offer. And he had highs and lows. He dealt with injuries, somewhat effective in the run game, but ineffective in the pass game. He was looking for another opportunity after 3 years there. He was hurt a year ago. And Sean Lewis presented that opportunity because they saw him as a quarterback first. Now, I still think they're going to have a package of plays for him as a runner. This guy's an unbelievable athlete. Go to YouTube and Google Bert Emanuel Jr., and look at his 82-yard carries where he's tackled in the backfield. He's had a few of them in his career. So I think they'll have a package of plays for him. Where Jaden Danigal has always been seen as a highly sought-after quarterback, starting with the throw game. He's out of Southern California. He was a 4-star recruit. Ends up in Michigan. I think if Jim Harbaugh stays, he might have actually been their starting quarterback in 2025. He was the true understudy to J.J. McCarthy. He was the actual backup in 2023. He was the first on the field after J.J. McCarthy. I just think that experience, while to Darren's point, he's got 5 career pass attempts. So this is his first ever collegiate start on Thursday. I think the 3 years at Michigan, 2 under Harbaugh, 2 years under J.J. McCarthy, I just think it's kind of put him in a situation where it's now is the time to take off. So he's going to have that opportunity. I don't know if it's guaranteed to him all year. I do think Bert Emanuel Jr. is going to get on the field as well. But I think people are excited about Jaden Danigal because he had some chances at Michigan, and now he's going to have more of a chance, obviously, at San Diego State.
It's you're doing a great job on Danigal and Emanuel because these are things I will admit I didn't know. But the quarterback room is totally different than it was last year.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why? Because it was exciting to talk about Danny O'Neil coming here. That felt like it was a really big moment for Sean Lewis. Didn't work. He's someplace else now. Happens every year. So, it's not to be accusatory, but is there a reason why that room in particular had the turnover that it does?
I don't have the specific particulars, but I do think, from my perspective, it's if you're going to start a true freshman and that true freshman doesn't even stay with you beyond 1 year, I think strategically or philosophically, you may need to consider doing something else. Where in the days of, it's so crazy how in 5 years this has all changed. I mean, he was the head coach at Kent State in 2018, and he used a 3 or 4 year starter. But now can you even get someone for beyond 1 year? I mean, both Danigal and Emanuel have 2 years of eligibility. You'd love to probably have one or both in your program for both of those years so you can get some continuity, some runway there. But I just think it's the nature of the game right now where it's hard to start a true freshman without the guarantee that he's going to be there as a true sophomore. It's you invest so much. And to be fair, and I think Sean would say the same thing, I thought Danny did a number of good things. I would never put it on Danny O'Neil that their record was 3-9. I'm sure some of it is on Danny O'Neil, just like some of it is on everyone that's accountable for their successes. But you look at Danny's numbers last year, I mean, they weren't gaudy. Threw 12 touchdown passes, but he threw 6 interceptions. I think I just saw some. I mean, the San Diego State was not turnover prone. They were penalty prone, and their defense really got worn down the second half of the year. They got run on a lot. So it just was I don't know, it's just a moment in time. You had Danny O'Neil for a year. You no longer do. And I think they said, you know what? As opposed to going young, let's go with experience and see if that's going to pay off more than it did a year ago with the young option.
This is the final season this could always change, but final year for San Diego State in the Mountain West. Right. You went out to Mountain West Conference Media Days, right?
Yeah, I did.
I don't know. The preseason poll stuff for me, we can mention it. The Aztecs were picked 8th, but yeah, whatever. Is it awkward? Is there a sense when you're around, because people that follow college know that there's these seismic shifts happening all the time. San Diego State, Fresno State, Utah State, Colorado State, Boise State, they're going to be in the Pac-12 next year unless something legally that we can't anticipate is around the corner. what do you think it's going to be like going to some of these places for the final time? Like I don't want to be all conspiracy theory guy, but every time there's a whistle, like in a Mountain West conference place in Vegas or whatever, like how awkward do you think it's going to be for these teams that are leaving this conference to be going through this conference schedule for the final time? Is there any tension there? Like, is there any, anything happening where we're like, oh, okay, well, nice knowing you. I'll see you somewhere down the road.
I think it's super awkward, truthfully, and I think there's a ton of animosity, and I think it's across a variety of sports, not just football. I think the men's basketball thing, the way it's played out with the addition of Grand Canyon, for example, and the public criticism levied by multiple universities, including San Diego State. Shoot, legally, schools have even filed lawsuits, not San Diego State. Remember, San Diego State can't be a part of lawsuits between the Mountain West and the Pac-12 because they'd be suing the Cal State system because San Jose State remains in the Mountain West. So that's kind of, people ask, like, why is it that Utah State and Boise State and Colorado State are going after the Mountain West so heavily where San Diego State and Fresno State have taken a back seat? It's because legally they can't be part of it because they'd be suing themselves since San Jose State is part of the Cal State system as well. But I think there is a lot of animosity. I think that I think you can say that it's part of college athletics. I say it all the time, and it is. The history of college athletics is littered with realignment, and especially recent college athletics. You've seen what played out with the Big 12 and the SEC with Texas and Oklahoma in recent years. Obviously, the Pac-12, the way it dissolved in recent years. But this one, to me, feels more personal with the way it's played out, the relationships between the commissioners. They both worked together in Pac-12 offices at one point, and now they're on the opposite side of lawsuits, and it hasn't yet fully been resolved or settled. And I don't even know how to put it. I agree with you. I think it's a big storyline outside of white lines or outside of like basketball courts. I think once you get onto fields or once you get onto courts, it kind of is what it is. But I do think that that's a significant storyline here in 2025, and it is a bit of an oddity with all the overlaps. So much Mountain West into the Pac-12, so much Pac-12 has played the Mountain West. It's just, it's a unique situation that will ultimately be resolved somehow, some way. But it is.
I can't even count all the lawsuits, right? I mean, I can't even count them all. There's like the Mountain West, the Pac-12, and the exit fee thing. I mean, is there anything noticeable? Maybe not as obvious for common folk like us, like start times, travel times, schedule things. Like, are there things already that exiting schools are like, oh, okay, getting the short end of the stick on that one?
I think there's a general belief, and this isn't coming from like anyone like on the inside, but you get a feel in being around it like I am. And since this has played out last September, they announced that they were leaving for the Pac-12, right? These 4 schools. I think there's this general belief, or even San Diego State trying to exit a couple of years ago. Remember, trying to go to the Pac-12, but the Pac-12 ultimately dissolving. I think there's this idea, certainly among fans, and you see it on social media, that the Mountain West will do things to put some of these schools at a competitive disadvantage. Now, I asked Gloria Nevarez that specific question, the commissioner of the Mountain West, and she said, in what way would it benefit our league? Because when a program like San Diego State has success in men's basketball, we're getting shares. When a program like Boise State has success in football, we're receiving revenue. So it's actually to our advantage to put these programs that have been successful in a situation where they can continue to be successful, because it will ultimately benefit the future of the league after these programs are gone. But if you're a conspiracy theorist or just a fan, or just go to social media and type in search words Mountain West Pac-12, within 1 minute, you will find something that says Boise State got screwed on its schedule. Or how could San Diego State basketball be playing this back-to-back at Elevation? Something like that.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, but this is part of the charm of college athletics, right?
Exactly.
Jon G, you and I were just chatting about, who was it that had like a two deep where it was a bunch of Hollywood stars the other day? Like, it is part of the shenanigans that exist in college athletics, that everybody's always looking to, to think somehow they're getting the sharp end of the stick or the business end or whatever. So yeah, I mean, like, that's just part of the way it goes in college athletics. People are still screaming about things that happened at BYU in the replay room from like 20 years ago,
100%.
So there's always that sort of stuff happening as well. I mean, again, do us one favor on behalf of SDFC. Just leave that field in good shape, man. It was in really good shape on Saturday night when we walked out of Snapdragon Stadium.
It's funny you say that. I went to the scrimmage. I went to San Diego State scrimmage. This would have been 2 weeks ago tomorrow, right? It was on a Thursday, 2 weeks before the opener. And obviously SDFC has been playing and the Wave have been playing. And I hadn't been on the field in a while. And the field was in unbelievable. I looked at the field. I picked up. I put my hand over the field. And I was like, wow. I hadn't even thought of it, truthfully, because there hasn't been as much conversation on it over the summer. I think there was some maybe over the summer with SDFC.
Yeah,
but
it was like
not
a
as much
concert or
as it
something,
was.
and they had to put some sod down. And it looked a
Yeah,
little
not as
dodgy
much as
for a day.
last fall, obviously. Like the Washington State football game, you'd see like the sand kick up during the football game was a big talking point. I went down there the other day. Like I said 2 weeks ago, I was really impressed by. I don't know enough. What do I really know about it other than the way it looks or feels? I don't know. I'm not like a turf specialist, even though I went to Penn State, which is like the turf U in the country. It's like known for its turf.
Did not know that.
Which is an interesting fact. If you, like some of the like head groundskeepers, like the Masters, or like some of these like Open Championship courses, like a lot of like Penn State people are in turf. But I thought the field was in really good playing condition. Is that going to continue? I don't know. Like because there's going to be a lot of usage, obviously, in September and October. So hopefully it continues. I know SDFC is going to need it.
Playoffs now too.
For their run, yeah.
Maybe this is a good way to get into how good or bad the field is going to be after this game on Thursday. I'm hoping that you're not a last minute crammer, because this is my question for you.
Yeah.
Tell me anything about Stony Brook. I know nothing about Stony Brook, not the university. Just tell me what to expect. Am I expecting an air raid? Am I expecting a bruising, running game and defense? Do the thing where someone says like, "Hey, this is a real team." Give me
that's
one of
me.
those.
Lou Holtz.
Darren knows that's
please,
that's me.
please.
Because like
Do
San
the
Diego
Lou
State
Holtz telling us about about William and Mary.
Please.
Yeah, exactly. It's like San Diego State basketball will play San Diego Christian, and I'll be like, well, I'll tell you this about San Diego Christian. They got a shooter.
It makes me nervous.
Yeah, it makes me nervous. It's a good thing this is at Viejas and not a Christian, even though they don't even have a campus. Stony Brook was 0-10 2 years ago. They brought in a new coach, first-year coaching staff like Sean Lewis. They go 8-4. And not only did they go 8-4, the caveat there is they should have been a playoff team. They were 8-2. They led New Hampshire in the fourth quarter 30-10. They lost the game, 31-30. The following week, their last week of the season, they lost to Monmouth. They allowed 690 yards of total offense. They lost by 7 or 8 points. So it's a program that was completely turned over. Their head coach was like the FCS coach of the year, Billy Kosh. He's 32 or 33. So he's a younger version of Sean Lewis. They relied heavily on the run game. They've got an FCS preseason All-American tailback. So that, to me, is the story. San Diego State's run defense was beat up in the second half of the year. And the Aztecs had gaudy pass rush statistics led by Trey White. They could get after the quarterback, but when you got into like the meat and the potatoes of the game, they were getting run on at too much of a clip, right? 5 and 6 yards a carry. Can they slow down a good, capable running game? Again, it's an FCS running game, but this is a real legitimate running back that ran for like 1,400 yards, was very good out of the backfield as well in the passing game, had a huge number of touchdowns a year ago. They'll have a new quarterback this year that they, like San Diego State, are choosing between like more of a running threat and a passing threat, and I think both of the quarterbacks will see time. And their defense last year, because they played a little bit of keep away, was vastly improved from obviously the 0-10 team. And they scored 1 million touchdowns on like special teams a year ago, either off turnovers or on special teams. So that's how they stayed in games. So I think it's a good football program. The team they played last year was Texas A&M Commerce, who's since become East Texas A&M. I mean, they've changed their names since San Diego State played them. They were coming off a terrible year. It was I think, a simpler assignment to beat Texas A&M Commerce than it is to beat Stony Brook. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was competitive for a period of time. I mean, last year, Texas A&M Commerce led San Diego State at the half 6-3, and then the Aztecs scored 42 unanswered in the second half. So I think it has a chance to be competitive for a while, but I do think San Diego State's confident. I think they're fully capable. I think they'll be improved against the run game, and let's see if the Aztecs can get off on the right foot. I mean, they have to, obviously. You have to get off on the right foot, so that's the plan on Thursday.
Yeah, and as you said, right now the Padres are sucking up a ton of oxygen in the city, right? It's even a conversation that I had recently inside of the SDFC offices, for you as somebody who, I know you're calling the games, but, you're an advocate for the program as well. Do you still think it's there? I mean, are you still convinced that that San Diego, that the city of San Diego, the way it has really gravitated towards the basketball program, that it's still there, that it's still waiting to be unlocked? Because I spent years believing that San Diego State football in this city, because of the love affair that the city had with the Chargers, that it had with high school football, that there's no real reason that San Diego State football shouldn't be more popular, in my opinion. I know you're not on the marketing side. I don't mean to be weird about it. But for you, do you get the sense being around it that there is a true belief here that San Diego State football still has the potential to be every bit the conversation as some of the other things that we're all spending time talking about?
I think is completely fair. I think the argument that many would make, and I've probably aligned myself with, is Viejas Arena to men's basketball is the one-day equivalent of Snapdragon Stadium to San Diego State, as in a kind of if you build it, even though the world has changed. Like it used to be facilities were the end-all be-all, and now like in recruiting, that is not a huge part of the story. I mean, it's more a financial game in recruiting, right? It's become a very professional model. But I think from a fan perspective, I mean, nobody's heard the story more than you have, Darren, about Steve Fisher and Viejas Arena and getting people
Giving the tickets, yeah.
So, and it's different. I mean, it's definitely different. The men's basketball, football dynamic is so different. Programs like Gonzaga and San Diego State legitimately compete for championships at high levels, right? Can make tournament runs. Football, it's a new system. I mean, shoot, Boise makes a quote-unquote run. They changed the system. Like, they literally changed the system the next year where the seeding will no longer incentivize a program like Boise State just because they win the Mountain West this year, for example. They will no longer get a bye or be the 4 seed. They'll be like the 12 seed playing at number 5 Penn State, for example, a year later. So the deck is stacked so far against you that I think fans don't believe you have this level playing field like people believe exists in men's basketball, even though it's not fully level, if we're being honest. So I understand the point. The point is football is a different beast than basketball. And just because it worked with Viejas Arena and Steve Fisher doesn't mean it works with Snapdragon Stadium and Sean Lewis. But I can envision the world where the pieces are put together. You win at a good clip. Your opponents are a higher caliber, even though they're going to be similar. But, playing the Fresno States and the Oregon States, the Washington States, I think it's enough where if you win at a good clip, you've got an expanded playoff model. You look at a year like 2017, if they start 6-0 one year, and all of a sudden they're among a group of 2 or 3 teams that are vying for a playoff spot, I do think it takes something like that. I think it takes something like winning at Pullman to potentially beat Stony Brook, and then let's say you win at Washington State, first-year head coach, 70-something new players. You're 2-0, you have a bye week, and you have Cal, and you're honoring the 2015 Mountain West Championship team. There's reasons to believe that's when you can get people to come out to the game. You're 2-0. Again, it's got to happen, though. You have to. Winning is a part of it, and it's probably a big part of it in football. It's like, look at that. I mean, SC, it's like everyone in LA cares, but they got to be 10-0. And when they're 5-5, they do care, but are they showing out? It's a different conversation. I'm talking myself around in circles, but you got to get that first marquee win under your belt if you're Sean Lewis, and then it at least gives you that opportunity to make some of those inroads I think you're talking about.
Okay, this is a really good continuation of the conversation that Darren and I were having after we recorded the podcast yesterday. We turned off, we started talking about this, which, by the way, you answered a question that we were asking each other, which is how many teams in college football go to the playoffs? We were nowhere near 12. Well, I didn't. You just said someone could be the 12 seed. I was like, there's 12 seeds? Oh my God.
Now, we'll be like 30 in a couple of years.
Right.
Yeah, we were like, oh, it's 6 or 8. I don't know. Nowhere near 12. But my whole thing, and this is like a San Diego thing, and this is a conversation Darren and I have been having for a decade, if not 2, which is how do you make San Diego a place that can care about a team and not make it about winning? Like your answer right there was the right answer. How do you make people care about San Diego State? You have to win. How do you build a culture around, to use a soccer term, how do you build a supporter structure where it's not tied to winning, it's just tied to supporting the team, enjoying the environment? Maybe it is the Steve Fisher thing. Maybe you just give away tickets and go, hey guys, come on, we just need people in the stands. Or maybe it's building something unique that is tied to either the game day experience or the culture around San Diego State. But if it can't be winning, if they can't win, do you have any ideas? How would you get people to care?
I like what Darren said, when you preface your question, I know you're not in marketing, but I'll use the Padres as the marketing example. It's not like this thing has been perfect for the last 5 years. I mean, if you listen to the daily, critiquing the media, all of us, you would think that it's actually been more bad than good, potentially.
Right. We were just saying that. People hate this team.
Right. Yeah, there's times
and
when
a
people
game out of first place.
Yeah, I mean, people are screaming about everything, and I get it because people care. But I go back to the 2023 Padres. Now they had the advantage of coming off the NLCS. The 2023 Padres were bad. They were not enjoyable. They never got going. I think they entered September I mean, at one point, what were they? 12 games under 500 with Juan Soto, maybe more, 14 games under 500. Yet they drew like 3.1 million fans. As in, they were, I think people want to know that you're trying. And what I mean by that, like Peter Sadler, like all he did was spend money. So like if you have Juan Soto and Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr., and 10 years prior to that, you had no one that would resonate on a national level like any of those people. Like, tell me the Padre of 2010. I wasn't even here. Like Corey
David
Spangenberg.
Eckstein, yeah.
Like, so when you try to be marketable, when you try to be relevant, I think people will recognize that. And even when you fall flat on your face, you can still resonate. I mean, the 2023 Padres, it's kind of laughable. We could go back and look at a game like August 12th last year on a Tuesday night against Arizona, or in 2023. I'm telling you, there were 39,000 people at those games, and they were like 60 and 70. And there's like 39,000 people at those games. Now, I don't think that continues forever. But the Padres have obviously struck a chord, and they've had success as well. 2023 is more the aberration now with 2022, 2024, and 2025. But, man, you tell me. I mean, I think SDSC has really marketed itself well. I don't think the quote-unquote success, like this now, was solely tied to winning. I think they would have been successful at the box office, and I think they would have been relevant regardless of their level of success on field this year. But that's not a forever thing. Obviously, SDFC realizes that too. It's not like they could start in their first 4 years, they'd be all under 500 and be successful in year 5. At some point, you're going to have to win. So, man, that's an age-old question. I mean, I grew up in Philadelphia. The truth is, when the Phillies were good, there'd be people in the building. When the Phillies were bad, there'd be 12,000 people there. So winning is always a part of professional sports, maybe not as much in the NFL. Like the Philadelphia Eagles, their fans are going to be there. The New York Giants, their fans are going to be there, by and large. But you get to a sport like baseball and you're playing so often, you're going to have to invest. You're going to have to win. Yeah, so I wish I had the full. I worked in minor league baseball. You know what they say in minor league baseball? The top 2 promotions are this: weather and bobbleheads. So you take that over. When I worked for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, the adage in the office was they put on a whiteboard, plan to go 0-144. How do we set an attendance record?
Yes.
Because nobody ever leaves a minor league baseball game saying, man, the Storm lost 6-4. They say, I saw fireworks.
Right.
It's actually fireworks is the number 1 promotion. It would be weather, fireworks, bobbleheads in minor league baseball. So that's a part of it too. How does minor league baseball, how do the Savannah Bananas, how do these entertainment models carve a lane for themselves?
You're right about that. I remember Dave Oster, Lake Elsinore Storm, saying they used to survey people walking out. You know, oh, what was your favorite promotion? Blah, blah, blah. This, that, the other thing. Did you have fun? Yes. What was the score? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, the actual score is very hard for someone to peg down. They may know if your team won or lost, but in minor league baseball, I would say 90% of people when they left the ballpark would not tell you the score. I'd be very surprised if they knew the score.
Yeah,
they might
again,
know
there's
who
stakes
won.
here. Yeah, I mean, I'm a believer. Like, I still am a believer, you know, and I do think it doesn't take much here, given 20-plus years in this market of remembering San Diego State basketball with 3,000 people inside of then Cox Arena, now Viejas Arena, and the Padres getting 9,000 people, though they would never admit it because they would say internally, we're never going to set an attendance low, a different regime there. Yeah. You know, Wave, SDFC, we'll see. You know, these are relatively new things as well. So we've taken up a ton of your time. I do want to just brag real quick that I was the 93rd subscriber to the wrap-up show the other night when you guys were saying we're going to stay on the air until we get 9,300 subscribers. I was subscriber number 9,300. So you are welcome for that. You and Jim are doing amazing work. Seriously. Congratulations to you guys. The radio show, I've said it here. I don't know how you do it for 4 hours every day. I really don't. And now you're throwing San Diego State into the mix, and you're up every night doing the wrap-up show on YouTube. You guys have just a ton going on, and I'm glad to see you guys get recognized for all the effort, for all the hard work, and all the success that you're having, Jon. I do really appreciate it, and I'm really happy for you.
Before I go, and I appreciate the kind words of you saying that, I have now signed up for your Discord because equally, it's hard to get something off the ground like you guys have done, and I've been really impressed, and I've told Jim for 4 years, like the email component and all this, I'm like, how are we not taking advantage of this? You guys are doing an incredible job in that, and that is a huge part of something like what we do. And I didn't think I could join the Discord. I had the link, and one time, whatever. I am now in the Discord, so I'm excited to check it out. We used to do a Discord with the wrap-up show. I completely bailed on it after like 6 months, but I still use the platform. So I literally clicked the link 5 minutes before we started this conversation, so I'm excited to check out the Discord and be involved.
Okay, good. Well, we appreciate that. Thank you for doing this again. I know prep week and having a new appreciation for it just for the time that I spend trying to learn all these MLS clubs is it's a lot. And this has been a lot of time and great insight, really. I really appreciate it. Good luck. Have a blast on Thursday night. Good luck this season to San Diego State. I know we'll talk. It's not like we're saying goodbye to you, but I hope we get a chance to do this again. Continued success, you guys. And we thank you very much, Jon, for joining us.
Darren, Jon, appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you. Jon Schaeffer. Jon and Jim Show. Jon, not John.
Not John, which probably means he's a Jonathan.
I would think so. Not 100% clear on that. I don't know that anybody has ever referenced him as Jonathan. Really good. First time I ever heard Schaeffer was I was driving around. I didn't really listen to a ton of 1360 when I was working at 1090, but I tuned in one day and he was calling San Diego State baseball during the Mountain West Conference tournament. It was probably in Vegas, wherever it was somewhere in a desert community, and he was describing the mountains and the sun, and I was like, whoa, what a picture this guy is painting.
Yeah.
Super talented guy. Really, really talented guy. And again, like there are a lot of people like, oh, Jon Schaeffer, Aztec, like he has really just ingrained himself. And again, for me, covering San Diego State was always, well, I love college sports, so this is a natural fit. I don't know that I, loved San Diego State like he does. Right. Now, the basketball program, I developed some personal connections there, the head coach, some of the assistant coaches. So, I rooted for them on a personal level, and I still do root for them on a personal level, in addition to just growing up a college basketball fan. But like this guy is so unapologetically pro San Diego State, and I love it. It's what you said to me yesterday off the air about how people are just unapologetically pro Seals or pro Sockers like Craig Elston or MLS or San Diego Loyal throughout the years with me. And I just do love that when people are like, this is what I love. I know it might not be the most popular thing.
Right.
And for some of you, it's like, no, I'm just going to fast forward to get to the thing like the Padres. But I do love that about Jon, that he's as good as it gets when it comes to baseball. And there's nobody better on San Diego State.
Better question for you. Are you watching this game tonight?
Tomorrow, San Diego State?
Oh, crap, it's Wednesday. Yeah, tomorrow. Are you watching this game tomorrow?
Tonight I'm going to be watching the Leagues Cup semifinals, of course, between Seattle and Galaxy and then Orlando City and Miami. So I'm going to watch that. I'm going to do a little prep for LAFC since we're going to be there for Suns' debut on Sunday night. Should be a ridiculous atmosphere at BMO Stadium.
Oh, Suns'
Will I watch San Diego
debut.
State? Yeah, I would like to watch San Diego State on Thursday night. And I would like to see a good product on the field. I'm still a believer that college football can matter in this city. And I know somebody's going to say, Marshall Faulk. Yeah, I know. That was 1 billion years ago. I still am a believer that college football can matter in this city and should matter in this city. And it's, somebody like Schaeffer and J.R. Tolver and a new generation of people to promote it. So I do wish them success. There are always these oddballs that root against the success of certain teams in town for whatever reason. And I'm not one of those people. I do want to see it succeed, and I think you would agree with that.
I do. More success for all the San Diego teams just makes this a better sports community. It makes everyone in it happier. So I'm good with that.
All right. Thank you, as always, for all of our subscribers, including Jon Schaeffer, who said he's going to be active on the Discord channel. I'm very happy to hear that. See how his experience works. Front row seat. It is part of your subscription delivered to the inbox every single day. Live content, social media access, Discord channel, all sorts of stuff here. If you're a subscriber for as low as $5 a month. Thank you again, Jon Schaeffer. We appreciate it, and we'll do it again tomorrow.